Good morning, dear students. Now, David Copperfield, Chapter 2. David Copperfield, Chapter 2. We knew that with the appearance of Mr. Murdstone, everything in David's life changed. My new father, Mr. Murdstone, my new father. The content of chapter 2. David knew that his mother was married. When he returned back from Yarmouth, he knew that his mother was married. Mr. Murdstone's true character appeared. Miss Murdstone, the sister of Mr. Murdstone, and her rude way. She went to live with them, by the way. David's life was totally changed by the appearance of these two characters. David knew that his mother was married. When he returned back from Yarmouth, he ran quickly to the house. He waited to see his mother. He went to the living room, which was called the parlor, and he didn't find her. He thought she was dead. He was afraid, but Peggotty told him that everything was okay and that his mother will come to see him. He waited for a hug from his mother as he used to, but this time everything was changed. David waited for his mother to hug him after his long journey with Peggotty, but she was stopped by her new husband, Mr. Murdstone. Mr. Murdstone ordered her to be firm with the boy and never to show any emotions. She started to change with David forcibly. Let's explain that. David's mother ran to hug him, but she was stopped. Mr. Murdstone stopped her and he ordered her to be firm. He is a boy, not a girl. You must not show him any emotions, because he was a boy. And she didn't do anything but stood still without hugging her son. That showed her weak character, very weak character in front of Mr. Murdstone. And David was affected by that bad action from his mother. Her weak character affected David's life totally. She always threw all her mistakes on others. As she told Peggotty that she was the reason of her son's change with her. When she didn't hug David changed a little bit with her. So she told Peggotty, you are the reason. You forced my son to be like this. The second point, Mr. Murdstone's true character. Mr. Murdstone controlled Clara's attitude in dealing with her son. He always ordered her how to deal with her son. Be firm, be firm. On his first night, when he returned, David knew that he would be treated like an animal or less. How? Let's explain that. When he returned home and he knew that his mother was married to Mr. Murdstone, he went to his room and he kept on crying. Mr. Murdstone followed him to his room and he told him, do you know, if I have a disobedient dog or horse, what I would do with them? I will beat them till blood shed. So David knew that if he didn't obey any order, he would be treated like an animal or less. David felt afraid of Mr. Murdstone on the first night they met. He told him, the way he will deal with him, like an animal or less. While David was studying, another example to show Mr. Murdstone's cruelty with David. While David was studying with Mr. Murdstone frightened him so he did a lot of mistakes. Mr. Murdstone was sitting on his chair and David was studying with his mother as usual. And he had a cane in his hand. He kept on making like this while David was studying. So he did a lot of mistakes, okay? While answering with his mother. His mother did nothing but crying as usual, okay? So Mr. Murdstone told his mother, I will study to him. Okay, on that time, David felt afraid and he didn't answer anything. Okay, Mr. Murdstone, when he didn't answer, Mr. Murdstone grabbed him upstairs like this, took him upstairs, grabbing him into his room, and he started to beat him very hard with a whip. Okay, kept on. David kept on begging, stop please, I will answer, stop please, don't do this with me, okay? And he didn't stop. So David bit his hand, okay? And when he did that, the man kept on beating David. He ignored David begging and pleas and kept beating the boy with no mercy. So David caught his hand and bit it. Mr. Murdstone caught him and left him unconscious. He kept on hitting and beating him till David was unconscious. Okay? Finally, he locked him in his room for 5 days. Okay, without seeing his mother, he was allowed to walk in the garden half an hour every day and then went back to his room and locked. Okay, for 5 days. Then the appearance of Miss Murdstone and her rude way. When they married, his sister went to live with them. On her first day, she ordered Clara, David's mother, to give her all the keys of the house to control the house. She told her, you are very young to control such a house. I will control everything. She took the keys of the cupboards, everything, okay? Clara did nothing. She gave her the keys. So Miss Murdstone controlled David's life with her brother. She was the only one who allowed to put the food to David while he was locked in his room. Okay? Miss Murdstone is Mr. Murdstone's sister who went to live with her brother. She took the keys of everything in the house and controlled everything instead of Clara. She was rude and hated David. She stopped Clara from helping her son and she put the food outside David's room as if he was a prisoner. She helped her brother to get rid of the boy. Let's know how did they get rid of David. David's life was totally changed by the appearance of the Murdstones in their life. David's mother did nothing to help him when he was beaten by Mr. Murdstone. She did nothing but crying. David was sent to a boarding school in London away of his mother. The only way to get rid of that boy and to take everything to ourselves is to send him to London alone, 7 years or 6 years old, okay, child, to be sent alone in a boarding school to live in that school, okay, the boarding school, the school, learning and to live in, okay. David was taken to the boarding school by Mr. Barkis. Mr. Barkis, the cart driver, who took them to Yarmouth, Okay, the car driver who told him that he was willing to marry Bugatti. When David went to the court with Mr. Barkis, he told him that he wanted to marry Peggotty. He wanted to marry Peggotty. And he asked David if he would write anything to Peggotty to add that he wanted to marry her. Okay? I want you to remember David's life was totally changed by his mother's marriage. How weak was Clara? All these points, inshallah, will be analyzed by you. Okay? How rude and tough were the Murdstones to David? Okay, the day David was traveling to the boarding school, his mother didn't even hug him. The only one who helped him was Peggotty, who ran after the cart, and she gave him some money, she gave him some food. His mother didn't give him anything for the trip. Okay, the only one who helped him was Peggotty. Okay. And finally, thank you for listening.